There is a mystery to the Great Race of Yith that I didn't actually address in my last video because I thought it was complicated. I just skip it. But then one of you guys mentioned it in the comments, so I guess I'll address it. So it's an issue about the Yithians that, as near as I can tell, Lovecraft never even considered, probably because he didn't have any kids. When the Great Race transfers its minds into its new body, the question is, when that new body has a child, what is the child's mind? Is it a great race, or is it a spawn of the body? Look, let's consider that some prankster member of the Great Race took my mind and transferred it into the body of a dog. And let's say that as a dog, I mate with another dog and we have pups. What's the pups' minds? Are they dogs? Are they human? Apparently, Lovecraft simply assumed that the children of Yithian minds would be Yithian minds. Okay, more likely he never really thought logically about it. He just assumed that would be how it is. But if Lovecraft's unconscious assumption is correct, it leads to a huge change in the way we view heredity. It means that our body's form and genetics are produced by our parents, obviously. I mean, this is how it works. But it would mean that our minds are produced by our parents' minds using some kind of mystical genetic inheritance trait from the mind. If this is so, it leads to a great big change in the way we view heredity. And of course, it kind of messes up the whole mind-body dichotomy, or maybe it solves the issue. Now, would that be possible? Well, there's three different solutions to this problem of the Yithians' children. Let's talk about the first, and I'm going to reference an old science fiction movie called Quatermass and the Pit, which I really like. Quatermass and the Pit is a science fiction movie from the 60s, and in the concept of this movie, in the distant past, insect-like Martians come to Earth. Now, they can't actually survive on Earth, because Earth's gravity is crushing, we have oxygen. The Earth is not a good environment for them. But their own planet is dying. But the Martians, instead of trying to invade and colonize Earth, they decide that what they actually want is to carry on their culture, their way of life, their society. So they find humans. Now, this takes place millions of years in the past. They find primitive humans and they use their super science to make the humans intelligent, basically become our ancestors. And then they teach the humans the Martian society and a way of life. This way, even though the Martians will die out, their culture, their civilization will live on. So it's kind of an alien concept, which fits the movie, but imagine, let's say that humanity found out that we were going to die out. Nothing could stop it. Would we consider it a success if we passed on our culture, our society, our art, our music, our science to a completely new species to carry it on? Would we feel those were usurpers or our heirs? I'm not sure. If the Great Race thought this way, then they could have had children who were in fact just, cone-shaped beings, the original type, and these children would be trained in the Great Race culture and society, and their way of life would continue even though the original Great Race, would have actually died out, the minds would have. Now, if this is the case, it would explain why the Great Race is so picky about the species it inhabits. It's got to have a race that's so intelligent it can understand the Yithian way of life, operate its technology, be a worthy successor. Humans apparently don't make the cut. However, two other possible solutions besides the we're just carrying on the culture idea. One is darker. What if the Great Race don't pass on their knowledge to the children? Instead, when they have a child or a spawn, really none of the Great Race, they all seem to have just had pods or something. When they have an offspring, they physically transfer, when they get old, their mind to that offspring into their children. And the child goes back into the old senile Great Race body to die. This would mean that the Great Race never die. They are still the same actual individuals from billions and billions of years ago, still transferring from mind to mind. If you've not read the Lovecraft story, The Thing on the Doorstep, check it out. I won't spoil it, but it's relevant to this. Now, there's a problem, though, with ever transferring Yithians like this. Okay? Over time, I'm sure an occasional member of the Great Race gets killed when it's trapped in a body. I mean, they fought entire wars among themselves and against some really fearsome foes. Look at these are deadly enemies. For that matter, Lovecraft himself says that though the cone-shaped beings live for about 10,000 years, the Yithians occasionally would get tired of life and let themselves die. Though they did sometimes transfer to another body. Now, over billions of years, you'd think that the Great Race would suffer attrition if it was the same minds going on and eventually be wiped out. So I don't think this is a likely solution. They must have a means to create new Yithians. Another possibility is that there was a whole lot of Yithians back in the day and that they simply keep transferring forward into bodies and we haven't run out yet of that pool of Yithians from billions of years in the past. Maybe there was trillions of them. That's another solution. All this leads to the mystery of the Great Race. Did they solve the mind-body problem? Are their children actually members of the Great Race? Do they have a means of duplicating their minds? Can a mind even be a member of a species? Is it just a mind? I don't have the answer. It's also possible that one of the reasons I don't have the answer is because my brain only weighs 2 or 3 pounds. The Great Race brain weighs hundreds of pounds, so it may forever remain a mystery to us. Only the Great Race knows for sure.